Pros are still hoping to see Terence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez, but Canelo has seemingly shut down Terence's fight offer. Quite a few pros felt like Terence Crawford would do just fine against Canelo Alvarez, and Keyshawn Davis is one of them. Keyshawn stated, "Canelo is great. The way he uses his feints to set up shots at certain angles where he positions his body to where he knows he can hit that person, but that person can't hit him. I don't know. I think he can beat Canelo." I think your real question is, how much is that weight going to affect him? Is that weight going to affect him? I don't know. I think that's a question all of us just have to wait and see, even for him. He never did this. I think Terence just has more athletic ability still than Canelo, and Terence has got that heart. He got that dog in him. Like, we all know how Terence is coming. He's going to go in there. He's going to fight Canelo. If you got a guy that just can box and just move around and move with the power, I think Terence definitely can beat Canelo. I don't think it's a long shot at all. Roy Jones Jr. would rather see Crawford fight Jermell Charlo before anything, and he thinks that Canelo is just a little too big for him. Roy stated, "I think Canelo's a little big. I'd like to see Crawford fight Charlo first and see how that goes. If he does good against Charlo with the weight, then let's see him come up and fight Canelo." Sean Porter believes that Terence will challenge Canelo in a way that he's never been challenged, though.
Talk about conditioning. It ain't no secret. We all can look and say, yo, right around 9 rounds is when Canelo starts to really decline, and his punch output, statistically, look at it, his punch output just significantly dives. This fight, what we didn't see from Canelo, because he didn't have to do it, we didn't see him fight in spurts. He's gonna fight in spurts against Terence Crawford.
That's right.
Terence is going to challenge him both offensively, defensively, and also not only challenge that, but challenge that gas tank.
That's very much. See, that's what I'm saying. You don't have to question Crawford. You don't have to question.
And what do we know about Bud? Bud got it at the end of the fight.
Steven Espinosa definitely sees potential in the fight, and he thinks that there's some good money to be made. Steven stated, "There was a lot of chatter about it initially. Terence said, 'Hey, a catchweight.' Canelo said, 'No, I'm not going to. He's too small. Why would I go down?' But then they both cleared it up, and I think it's because of the magnitude of the opportunity. Clearly, fans are interested. I think it's a huge financial opportunity for them. So I think if the fans want it, if the fight makes sense, then I think it's very doable. It's really up to Canelo where he wants to go after this. If that's it and he wants to go in that direction." Antonio Tarver definitely believes that Terence would be a much more competitive fight for Canelo than Jermell Charlo was. Antonio stated, "I think it's going to be a much better fight, and it's going to be more competitive, and I think that outcome is up for grabs. It depends on if Canelo's size has the same effect that it affected Charlo, that it would affect Bud that way. But I think Bud is a different animal, a different beast. So I'll be interested in seeing pound for pound versus pound for pound. I definitely would." Shakur Stevenson definitely thinks that Terence would beat Canelo in a fight.
I think Bud could beat Canelo. Like I said, I've been saying this. I don't think size win fights. I think skills do. So yeah, I think like being a southpaw with good movement and sharp boxing, it'd be hard for Canelo with that high guard to walk him down and load up on them big hooks. I think Bud would beat Canelo.
Bob Arum doesn't think that Terence really has much of a chance against someone like Canelo, though. Bob stated, "I think Canelo wipes the floor with him. I love Crawford. I told you with Crawford and Spence that Crawford would beat the hell out of him, but Canelo is a different proposition. I think it's an interesting fight, but I think there's only one winner." As far as Crawford is concerned, at this point, only one thing is important, and that's the money. You can't blame him, and you look around, who does Canelo have to fight? Crawford is probably the most attractive fight, commercially I'm saying. Even though he's coming up 3 weight classes, people would have a lot of interest. Tim Bradley thinks that this is a very close fight, and he thinks that Terence might have a chance against Canelo. Tim stated, "It's tough. We know Canelo can be outboxed, or at least I know he can be outboxed, but the size difference is what's scary about that fight. If Crawford can hurt him or stop him from coming forward, and Crawford is great at dealing with high guards, he knows how to come around it and underneath it. He knows how to set traps for his opponent, and I think he'd be able to lay a lot of traps for Canelo. I think he'd give him a lot more problems than Charlo because of the mentality. He would come to win. Crawford has the skills, but again, the size, man, and weight classes are there for a reason." Floyd Mayweather thinks that more people should take a look at Canelo before anything else, and he questions the use of substances for some of his fights.
But what we don't talk about is, Canelo. Steroids. Y'all don't talk about that. So we don't know. We really don't know all the fighters he beat. He could have been not clean in a lot of fights.
Oscar De La Hoya believes that Canelo would have no problem against someone like Terence Crawford, but he doesn't think that he could handle David Benavidez. Oscar stated, "Obviously, Crawford is the craftier boxer, but Canelo has the size, he has the power, and it's like Bob Arum said, he'll run right through him. It'll be a tough fight, but stylistically, yeah, it'll be a one-sided fight for maybe, let's say, 7 rounds, and then Canelo starts attacking. He starts to take it to deep waters, and the power will eventually be too much. Will it be a great fight? Will it be a huge event? Absolutely. I think Benavidez will win easily." Jermell Charlo was supposed to prepare Canelo for more fights against the top fighters, but Chris Algieri doesn't think that he really did that. Chris stated, "Yeah, Canelo looked good, but he had a guy that wasn't offering any kind of resistance. So is Canelo back? I don't know. I can't say that against a guy who puts up very little resistance the way that Charlo did. Now, he's got his moves that he does, and he basically just cycled through them all night long with Charlo. He really wasn't mixing things up that well to get him out there, because I think if he really went for it, I think Canelo from a couple of years ago would have gotten Charlo out of there." Canelo Alvarez has admitted that Terence just isn't in the plan right now, though. Canelo stated, "I always say if a fight makes sense, why not? But he's not in the plan." Speaking of Canelo's plan, Sean Porter gave a better look at what Canelo hopes to do. Sean stated, "Let me say this, Canelo Alvarez is on a special diet. When you're on a special diet, you may see some cookies and think they look good, but I'm not getting off my diet. He has a plan, a strict regimen. He ain't come over to PBC to fight Charlo and then fight Crawford. He ain't about to dibble and dabble in some other stuff. He's on a strict diet, and he's going to follow that plan, and people hope it ends with David Benavidez." Bernard Hopkins doesn't think that the fight is going to happen either, and he stated, "Crawford cares about his life, and what does that fight do for Canelo fighting Crawford, and Crawford beats Canelo? What does that do for Canelo? I just think that there are so many other fights to make that are realistic and make sense and less life-risking on top of the risk that we have to step in there with guys our weight. Canelo is not coming down to 160. Crawford ain't 26. Another major network, Showtime, is saying they're packing their bags up. You're going to see a lot of desperate moves jumping off. You're going to see a lot of very unrealistic, unorthodox, crazy thinking. Crazy gossip about what fighter should fight what fighter that doesn't make sense, but it only makes sense if you don't have nowhere else to go or you start reaching. It's not going to happen. I guarantee you, it's not going to happen. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and check out some of our other videos on the screen right now.